All right, let's talk about something that's quietly changing how software is made. We're diving into OpenAI's Codex and how it's being used for automatic code reviews. This isn't just another tool, it's a whole new way of thinking about building things.
Seriously, just think about that for a second. What if your best, most meticulous engineer was on the job 24/7? No coffee breaks, no vacations, just tirelessly checking every single line of code your team writes. What could you actually get done? It's a wild thought, and it gets right to the core of what we're talking about today.
Because look, we all know that having another human look over your code is absolutely essential for quality. But let's be honest, it's also one of the biggest things that slows projects down. It all depends on who's available, who has the time, and who has the mental energy to dive deep. And those are all things that run out. And that brings us right to this idea of the code review bottleneck. It's becoming a huge problem because we now have AI tools that can generate code faster than ever, but our ability to actually check that code, well, that's still human-powered and struggling to keep up.
This isn't just a theory. This comes straight from the folks at OpenAI. They saw that their own AI was getting ridiculously good at write-in code, so the problem wasn't creation anymore. The real challenge, the real bottleneck was verification. How do you make sure all this new code is actually good? And that's the problem they decided to tackle.
So what do you do about a problem like that? You don't just build another linter or another static analysis tool. No, you build a teammate. Let's get introduced to this new kind of collaborator.
So what is this thing really? The best way to think about Codex for code review is like, well, it's like a new engineer just joined your team. It plugs right into the tools you already use, and its whole job is to jump on new pull requests and start looking for bugs, often before any other person has even seen them.
And getting this new teammate up and running is ridiculously easy. We're not talking about some complex installation process. It's literally a couple of clicks in your web settings. That's it. And the second you flip that switch, it's on. Every single new pull request that gets opened is instantly picked up and reviewed by Codex. You basically just upgraded your entire team's review process in a matter of seconds. Okay, but you might be thinking, don't we already have tools for this? And yeah, we've had static analysis for years, so what makes this so different? Well, to get that, we have to look under the hood at how Codex actually works. The biggest difference is all about perspective. Your typical tool, it's like it's looking through a microscope. It only sees the diff, the few lines of code you just changed. But Codex, it's using a telescope. It sees the entire codebase, its whole history, every single interconnected piece. And that right there is the game changer. Because it sees everything. It doesn't just see lines of code, it actually understands the context. It knows that changing this one little thing over here might have a huge, unexpected impact on something way over there. So how does it do it? Well, it starts by reading the whole repository, tracking how different files depend on each other. But then, and this is the really wild part, it starts to form hypotheses. It'll think something like, I bet this change is going to break the user profile page. And then, get this, it literally writes and runs its own code just to see if it's right. It's not just a scanner, it's an active investigator. So when you have that kind of deep understanding, it leads you to its most powerful use case, finding and even fixing the kinds of bugs that really, really matter. One of the main goals during its training was to make sure it wasn't just annoying. Nobody wants a tool that just spams them with tiny style suggestions. So it was specifically trained to hunt for high-impact bugs, the kind of stuff that developers actually care about and want to fix. The goal is to be right, so you learn to trust it. Here is a perfect real-world example. A developer removes a prop, which is basically just a setting for a button or a menu. A human reviewer, looking only at that one line, could easily miss it. But Codex, because it understands the entire system, instantly sees that another component relies on that setting and flags it, saying, hey, this is going to break the user interface over here. That's a huge catch. And this is where it stops feeling like a tool and starts feeling like a teammate. The developer sees the comment from Codex, and instead of having to go fix it themselves, they just talk back to it. They can literally just type a reply. And just like that, it's done. Codex gets the instruction, writes the correct code, and updates the pull request. The whole cycle of finding and fixing a bug happens in a single conversation. It's not just finding problems, it's solving them. The speed increase here is just massive. So you can see, this isn't about adding one more tool to your checklist. It's about fundamentally upgrading your entire team's workflow. And a big part of that is having control over your new AI teammate. And you get to be the boss. You can steer it in a few different ways. You can give it a direct command in a comment. You can also set up a simple file in your project with standing orders, like always check for performance issues, or ignore typos in comments. And, believe it or not, you can even customize its personality. I love this quote from one of the engineers who worked on it. It just perfectly captures how personal you can make this. If you want your AI code reviewer to give you a little pep talk every time it finds a bug, you can literally tell it to do that. It's amazing. And this teammate isn't just up in the cloud working on GitHub. That's where it helps the whole team, sure. But you can also bring it down to your own machine. Just type /review in your terminal, and you can get its feedback on your code before you even commit it. You can catch issues before anyone else ever sees them. So when you put it all together, Codex is designed to be this constant partner. It's right there with you in your terminal when you're coding. It's watching over the team's work on GitHub. And the whole point is to catch those really nasty bugs before they ever see the light of day. Which really leaves us with this one big question. What happens when the fear of breaking things is significantly reduced? When every single person on your team, from the newest hire to the most senior lead, can ship their code with a whole new level of confidence? What does that free you up to build next?